Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can hypnotize your children. But before you attack me, let me just explain. I'm going to show you how to do it ethically and properly. Keep in mind, if you haven't seen any videos in the past, I always tell you hypnosis is not mind control. It's none of that stuff that you think happens. Nobody can control anybody without their consent. So with children, especially if they're over 9, you can use this technique with anybody, actually, not just children. It could work with adults, it could work with anybody. And the idea is, so you need to pay attention, because at the end, it will all make sense. So bear with me for a minute. The hypnosis happens in the subconscious mind, not in the conscious mind. And to be able to manipulate someone, not manipulate, but to be able to make them change and do whatever you are trying to suggest for them to do, you want to go to their subconscious level. And the only way it will work if they were on the subconscious level accepted, because if the subconscious thinks it's real, it will happen. For instance, just to show you the power of the subconscious, there was a gentleman that was called in a restaurant, and he was responsible for checking the heating system and the fridge and the freezer. And the restaurant had a long weekend. It was a 4-day long weekend, and the freezer was not working. So they called this gentleman in, and he went into the freezer to fix it. Unfortunately, it locked behind him, and everybody was gone. So he kept knocking and knocking and knocking. Nobody's answering. He's freaking out. Nobody's there. He's freezing. Maybe an hour later, he found a pen. He started writing on the boxes. The first, I believe, time that he wrote something on the box was around 9 p.m. stating how cold he is, how he's feeling left out, and he doesn't know what to do. The second time they saw something written on the box was at 11 o'clock, so 2 hours after that. Saying that he's feeling cold, his hands are frozen, his hands are blue, he can see his breath, he doesn't know if he can take it. By 1 in the morning, he wrote the last thing on the box, which was his will and testament, and it was for his children and his wife. 3 days later, the staff came in, opened the freezer, God behold, the guy was frozen, and he was dead. And they took him to the hospital, and what boggled everybody, everybody was terrified. Everybody was just wondering what the hell this happened. The medical community were just all bizarre with this, because he froze to death. The thing is, the freezer was not even plugged. So what I just did, you have been hypnotized. I didn't want to tell you that beforehand. This technique is called storytelling. So keep in mind, guys, in hypnosis, it means that you have focused attention. So by telling you a story, I got your attention right on the spot. So if you remember, I didn't say I'm going to tell you a story. I just said, let me tell you something. So I started with the story. As soon as the word story comes up, you right away, just to go back, you right away enter the person's subconscious. So subconscious loves stories. As soon as you say something about a story that's related to the person, right away you got into their subconscious. If you tell the person, go do your homework, they're not going to do their homework. But if you tell them a story that is relatable without saying, oh, I'm going to tell you a story, right away you got into their subconscious. Now, the second thing I did, when you finish your story, that's the second thing you have to do. As soon as you finish your story, you need to be quiet. 5 seconds, 3 seconds, it doesn't matter how long it is. You cannot say, you see how I told you how the subconscious affects you don't want to do that. What you do is you deliver the message, you deliver the story, because the story is a metaphor. Then you back up, and you let the person, your child, your friend, your partner, whoever it is, reflect back and connect the story with their emotion, because that's what the wiring is happening. Let them figure it out on their own, and you keep quiet until they respond. Doesn't matter how long it takes. It takes a minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Just keep quiet, because that's where the hypnosis is happening. That's where the rewiring is happening. They are trying to identify with the story and connect their feelings with the story. That's how you hypnotize someone. You just got their attention by telling them a story. And number two, pretty much you rewire the brain by letting them connect their emotion with the story. So you can do this with children. You can do this with, I have a friend who I knew, for instance, she wasn't having a great time with her boyfriend and she doesn't know what to do. Should she break up with him or not? And I knew she needs to break up, but it's not on me to tell her to break up with him. So how I delivered it, I told her my story and what I did. And then I kept quiet. And she kind of put the two together. So what I did with the example of the guy going to the restaurant, now you somehow, by the way, it's a true story. You can Google it. You made the connection that hypnosis, that subconscious has a big physiological change. It does impact your body. If you think you are going to freeze to death, you will freeze to death. If you think you're going to be depressed and you're a loser, you will be a loser and you will be depressed, because your subconscious is doing whatever you're consciously told it. So I'm just going to show you a little image here where it shows you the difference between a conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and where the break happens. As you can see in this image, that the conscious mind is a very small percentage of what you use, which is like 10% of you. But the subconscious is the 90% of you, and that's the one that comes out as an autopilot. And this is where you want to do the hypnosis. This is where you want to insert the suggestions. But there is that critical, this is called critical faculty. This line is called critical faculty. That's a medical term for it. The only way you can bypass it is by giving a story. The only way you can get into the subconscious is by trying to get someone to focus on you. So back on me for a minute. I'm going to show you another thing you can do with children. I do it a lot with little kids. I love kids. And a few days ago, the neighbor's kids were playing outside, and one of the child was playing on something. He fell and nothing happened. I mean, but he was crying because there was a little blood. He scratched himself. The mother was freaking out. His sister was freaking out, and the kid was freaking out, and he's crying and crying because he was looking at the blood. So what I did is I hypnotized him like instantly. So what I did, I just went to him. He was laying on the floor. He's screaming his head off because there was blood, a little bit of blood. And right away, what I did is, because he's focused on the blood, so he's crying and he's feeling pain, I just ran to him. I'm like, oh, let me see, is this the good blood or the bad blood? Instantly, he was like, huh? I'm like, oh, let me see. Oh, this is the good blood. Oh, thank goodness, it's the good blood, you see. And I was telling him, he was a 4-year-old, so I said to him, look, the blood has the doctor in there, the nurses is there. You see how the doctor is fixing you? He's trying to heal you. You know, you can see him, and he's looking at the blood, poor guy, trying to look at the doctors and trying to look at the nurses. Of course, his mother and his sister caught along. And so I used the story from the blood to show him that it's okay. He completely stopped crying. The blood stopped pouring out because he stopped focusing on the pain and he focused on me. So again, I told him a story. And that's how you do it with children. That's how you try to get their attention, by telling them stories. If you try to tell them, go do your homework, they're not going to listen. That critical faculty is going to be standing up. You need to bypass that. And that's how you do it. That's exactly how you do it. Ethically, a nice way, in a good way. And another thing you can do, by the way, have your kids listen to hypnosis audios at night while they're sleeping to motivate them to keep reinforces the suggestion. So if they're having issues with homework, there is probably something about homework that they can listen to at night to just keep reinforcing the suggestion. But telling them the stories in the most popular and the most instant that you can get them hypnotized right there and then. Good luck. Try it. Let me know. Next week, I think I'm going to put out a video. I got a lot of questions about how do you know someone is lying to you or telling you the truth. So I will tell you next week on that one. So stay tuned. Thank you.